And there we go. It looks like we are live. I'm going to share this link. Fastest book has me shut down from live for a couple more weeks. And but it doesn't stop us, does it? So looking forward to catching up with you. And I'm going to share this on my page as well. Can't wait to catch up and see what's happening right now. And there we are. So here we go. I'm going to share this on my page. All right. And we're live, folks. About to record live. And that's a good thing. So it's good to see your face, Avi. Let me see more of that handsome face there, my man. You can lean up a little bit. There you go. There you go. Here we go. Hey, boots on the ground right there, live from Israel. The founder of the Bible Block Party, author, speaker, international globetrotter. He's not a basketball player, but I bet he could play basketball. But
Not
on the
really.
serious on the serious note, Avi Lipkin, dear brother, it's good to see your face. How are you today?
Praise God every moment. Good to be on your show every time.
Well, I created it for you, my man, and we love to hear from you. I know the people at GLC love to hear from you, as so many others and so many backgrounds and platforms and such. And there's even more platforms ready to get these updates as well, which we will. But Avi, a lot of things are happening. Of course, you know, some of us are not surprised. Some of us believe the situation with the United States has been just as planned since 2020. The only way to get a former call girl to run for president and people actually consider voting is what's been happening today. And you know, here we are with the attempted assassination attempt of Israel's best ally in the presidency, and that's Donald Trump. What sayeth thee about that?
Well, I don't know. I saw something in the internet today that there were 3 shooters.
Wow, they must have all been bad.
They're all bad shooters, yeah, but they did kill Campanero, that guy from the fire department.
Yeah. I'm wondering if he was just a mere casualty in line of sight, or if he was a political target from the left. I don't know. What an incredible tragedy that is.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's very clear that the Secret Service deliberately, neglectfully left it wide open. Now some are saying that the shot that pierced Trump's ear or grazed him was from the woods, not even from the roof of the young 20-year-old that supposedly outsmarted the SS. And with 3 encrypted foreign bank accounts during a high alert threat by the Iranians. I mean, it goes further than neglect. It comes right down to a planned assassination to the average American. That's the assumption anyway. I'm just using my freedom of speech. That's what it appears to be.
Yeah, I'm still working on my first encrypted bank account.
Yeah. Well, hey, apparently it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to get a sniper rifle and scope and encrypted bank accounts. If you're connected the right way. What is the mood, the shock and awe, if you will, if there is, among the people of Israel?
Well, firstly, before I get into that, I have to tell you something. You know that I have a group in Fort Worth, Texas.
Right.
And I did a Zoom with them, which ended like 15 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about the Israeli attack in Yemen. Did you hear about the Israeli attack in Yemen?
No, I didn't. This is the first I'm hearing about this.
Well, that's what he told me. And what happened was Thursday, between Thursday night and Friday morning at 3 a.m., a drone from Yemen, a Houthi drone, for the first time they fired it not via Eilat in the south. They fired it into the Mediterranean area, Mediterranean basin, and then they hooked it over to Tel Aviv, and then the drone flew right over the American embassy and hit an apartment building across the street. And so the
Wow.
Israeli said enough is enough. The Houthis of Yemen had fired 200 rockets and UAVs at us. So that was Friday morning at 3 a.m.
Wow.
Saturday afternoon, Israel sent 18 F-35s and F-16s, and we bombed the heck out of the airport of Hodeidah. Hodeidah, not the airport, the seaport of Hodeidah. Hodeidah on the west coast of Yemen is about 1,200 miles from Eilat, from Tel Aviv. And we basically destroyed all of the oil infrastructure and the port infrastructure that was offloading ships from Iran, bringing in weapons and missiles into Yemen to be fired at Israel. And so this was a major attack.
Wow.
And we crippled Yemen. Now, there's a pastor who was on my Zoom 15 minutes ago who said there was no mention in the American media.
Well,
That's
of course
crazy.
not. Of course
What do
not.
you mean,
What?
of course not? You know, President Biden said don't. President Biden said don't. By the way, you know he's in a hospital now.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard he was rushed to John Hopkins hospital, and of course, you know, we don't know if he's even alive or not.
They took him to the hospital because President Obama wasn't happy with him. There's so much deep state going on in the States. And I have news for you. We have the same thing here in Israel with our Supreme Court. It's all controlled by globalists, leftists.
Yeah.
Netanyahu and a few other people have been handed arrest warrants from the International Court of Justice in Holland. You know who gave the information to the International Court of Holland? Israeli left-wing journalists, globalists, deep state people.
Wow.
So America and Israel have a lot in common, but one thing I see ringing really loud and strong is civil war. Because those bullets that missed President Trump could have caused a civil war in the States. And what's happening now in Israel is our Supreme Court and a lot of left-wing journalists are feeding the media in the West with untruthful lies, which are being used against Netanyahu and other ministers in our government. They're all being arrested by globalists. They're not being arrested, but they could be in a situation, if they land in Europe, they could be arrested. Israeli citizens who aren't even American are having their bank accounts shut down by Israeli banks under pressure from the United States government. This is not the correct thing for one democracy to do to another democracy. In addition to the illegal interference in the internal affairs of an allied country. So I won't say the U.S. government, the Democratic administration under Biden and under Obama are attacking our leadership because we have a nationalist, truthful, and loyal government.
Well, the last I heard about that was that Kamala, the call girl, refused to even meet with Netanyahu as he was supposed to be in Washington, D.C. Have you heard about that?
Yes, we heard about that. We heard what my wife picked up from our analyst on the Israeli TV is that Obama gave specific orders to Biden and to Kamala not to meet with Netanyahu. Because Obama's in charge.
Well, we've always known that, but I guess they're not hiding it now. Their assassination attempt failed.
Yeah.
So they probably feel like they have nothing left to lose.
I'm just saying we are in the middle of a war, and our supposed closest ally is the United States. And Biden, in certain aspects, has been good for Israel. But on the other hand, Biden is the one who's been paying the Iranians and paying the proxies for all the terror that's being carried out against Israel. This is crazy. And in
Well,
the end,
yeah.
the chickens are going to come home to roost, and America is going to be attacked by these Islamic terrorists.
Well, that's what Obama wants. He's Muslim Brotherhood. He's deep state. He's an asset.
But of
You
course, if
know.
Avi Lipkin speaks about this while I'm in the U.S., I could be arrested for hate speech.
Wow. Well, you know what? Hey, what do we got to lose by speaking the truth now? These are devils, and there's still people stupid enough to vote for them. There are mindless animals that if you legalize the worship of Moloch and eating your children in the street, they'd vote for the devil himself. Got to kill them babies, says the Democrats. And so here we are, the ultimate evil. It's always been there. It's just revealing itself. I mean, gosh, you can go back to the days of Arkansas when the Clintons were, Bill Clinton was governor, and they've been the same people, the same lack of character, the same corruption from those days. Birds of a feather stick together, and they're not hiding anymore. Their assassination attempt failed. There are no answers from the director. She needs to go back, head of security over Pepsi, where they found her. But no one seems to be accountable. No one goes to jail if you're a Democrat. But if you're not a Democrat, then all of a sudden, you're a target. And I'm ashamed that anyone in our government would turn away Israel, refuse to meet with our only ally in the Middle East. But, Dinesh D'Souza did some prison time for making a film about Obama and what the world would look like under him. And sure enough, if he gets his way, that film, would be a documentary. And here we are, folks. And we still have people in America. Well, I don't know if I like Trump or not. Folks, don't be a fool. Personality doesn't raise the inflation. Overregulation does. When Biden shut down 50,000 jobs and canceled the Keystone Pipeline on day one, it was an attempt to cripple and bankrupt the poor and the middle class, because after all, you can't have communism unless you destroy the middle class. And yet we still have people, even preachers. I know some good preachers, but you even have cowardly preachers. Maybe we should vote for someone else. And my gosh, I've never seen such lunacy, such ignorance, such willful stupidity in my life. And here we are. And yet, some way, somehow, God is in control.
I want to tell you something. I think I've alluded to it in the past, but there's a country in South America that my parents were brought up in, Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
And Argentina was really the richest country in Latin America until 1930. 1930, they had a Biden-type president by the name of Irigoyen. The name's not important, but the thing is, he got senile in his second term. And then the military took over. And the military under Juan Perón, you've heard of the Peronistas. Peronistas are like national socialist crazies, completely destroyed Argentina from 1944 till 2024. Talking about 80 years, Argentina was completely destroyed. I'm an expert in the Argentine economy. And anyway, so this new guy ran for office, and his motto is "Make Argentina Great Again." MAGA.
Wow.
And you know who his idol is?
Donald Trump.
And he just, like Trump, he decided to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Wow.
Now, today in the news, they announced another country, a very poor country, by the way, Paraguay. They had their embassy in Jerusalem, and socialists took over, and they pulled out of Jerusalem. Well, today, the nationalist president of Paraguay announced that they're moving the Paraguayan embassy back to Jerusalem, praise God.
Wow.
So I don't know. I really hope that we will see Argentina and Paraguay go through with this. We have a number of countries in Latin America which have been taken over by the communists. Chile, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil. Brazil, by the way, had an evangelical Christian president, Bolsonaro.
Right.
but he was overthrown illegally in an election in which Lula da Silva used judges who he got out of jail. So they gave the election victory to Lula da Silva, who was a communist, and so he is against Israel now. But half the Brazilian population is evangelical, and they're pro-Israel. So there are a number of things that we really need a Trump presidency again how shall I say, to reimpose the Monroe Doctrine. I think most Americans don't even know what the Monroe Doctrine is anymore, the young kids. I grew up in America in the 60s. I knew what the Monroe Doctrine was. America has to have the Monroe Doctrine, otherwise the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians take over, like they did in Cuba and Venezuela.
Well,
so I'm a very international guy. So I watch
you are.
What goes on in many countries, not just Israel, not just the U.S. And if you have a weak presidency, you have a vacuum. Under Biden, there was a tremendous vacuum, like outer space. And so I'm hoping that America can still be saved in the next elections, if the next elections take place.
I'm curious how Argentina was able to come out of their communist lull without a revolution.
80 years, I'll tell you, very simple, 80 years of corruption, the people had enough.
So was there a military coup? What was it?
No, the military's fed up also.
It's got to be pretty bad.
The military's fed up also.
The people that are standing...
I have family still in Argentina. I know what's going on there.
The Jerusalem Post take, I'm not sure how much you trust the Jerusalem Post in regards to what we were speaking about earlier with these arrest warrants for not only Netanyahu, but they claim also for Hamas officials. That seems to be bizarre, since Hamas is the one that committed the atrocities against Israel and her sovereignty. But saying that, get back down to that, Hungary, Argentina, and the Democratic Republic of Congo are all intervening on Israel's side. And that's what the Jerusalem Post is talking about. Interesting how these
Hungary, things... Listen. Hungary and Argentina are Catholic countries. They are conservative Catholic countries.
Wow.
Hungary does not want Muslim immigrants. Argentina has quite a few Muslim immigrants, but Argentina is a Catholic country. By the way, the president of Argentina, the new president, Javier Milei, I don't really know if he completely converted to Judaism, but he has a rabbi, and he's studying the Jewish roots of Christianity. And I think Javier Milei will be the best president for Israel Argentina has ever had. Orban, and now this is an interesting thing I'm going to say now. I don't know if you're going to agree with it, and you'll forgive me if you don't agree with it.
Okay.
Orban is a devout Catholic. He's against the Muslims. Do you know that he supports Putin? Putin is a nationalist and supposedly a religious Christian, Russian Orthodox. The important point here is globalism. Globalism hates Netanyahu. Globalism hates Trump. Globalism hates Orban from Hungary. Globalism hates a Judeo-Christian president in Argentina. Anything which does not follow the Obama style is an enemy and is under attack. So the Israeli Supreme Court is now globalist, this Israeli Supreme Court is anti-Jewish. And they are working with the International Court of Tribunal in Holland. And so they're giving, okay, let them give arrest warrants for Hamas terrorists and also for Israeli prime ministers. I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy. We have a number of our ministers have now been served with arrest warrants. We have a few Israeli soldiers who are being attacked by the American government. Their bank accounts in Israel, and their bank accounts are in Israeli banks. have been shut down. Washington has ordered the shutting down of bank accounts of Israeli soldiers whose bank accounts were in Israeli banks, and they're not American. But the power of the U.S. government under the globalists is such that they can intervene in the internal affairs of Israel.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, there must be something good on the way, you know, because in the natural it doesn't look all too well. I wonder if the liberal Jews will still vote Democrat now that they see the true colors of Obama.
Okay,
I mean,
listen,
as if you couldn't see it before.
listen. I told you about my story with a Nazi. I had
Yep,
lunch with a
yep.
neo-Nazi, and one of the things I noticed, and I read the newspapers and the internet very carefully, and it used to be that 80% of the Jews are Democrats. Then it came down to 75%. Then it came down to 70%. Now, the last article I read about the Jewish vote is that Jews are now 66%, or two-thirds of the Jews vote Democrat, but it's up to 34% of the Jews are Republican now. So the Jews, as they become more Americanized over the decades, the Jews are becoming more and more Republican. I will add another thing also, and I get attacked by the rabbis for saying this. Jews intermarry with Christians because Jewish kids go to universities.
Right.
The universities are the great equalizers. And so a Jewish boy or girl meets a Christian potential spouse. Very often the Christian spouse is more Zionist and more Israel loving than the Jew. And so what happens is that the Jew also will tend to become a Republican because all of these things going together. Loving Israel is usually a Republican trait. Loving Israel, loving the Jew is a Republican trait.
Yeah.
The anti-Semitism comes from the Democratic Party, and of course, the emphasis on the division of the races. In other words, the Democratic Party is a racist party, and being racist, the Jew is always to blame. Now, the problem with the Jews today in America is if Jews are so stubborn to continue defending the Democrat Party and voting for the Democrat Party, there is going to be a backlash against the Jews from the Republicans and from the militias. And this neo-Nazi told me, we're going to kill all the Jews because there's some Christians. Now, of course, I cannot support in any way killing of Jews, but there are some Christians who see that the Jews are constantly against nationalism, constantly against the United States, and they're always pro-Democrat. And so one of the things I wrote to the president of Israel, Yitzhak Herzog, I said Israel is facing a potential Holocaust because the Muslims want to slaughter the Jews in America. The neo-Nazis want to slaughter the Jews in America. The Black Lives Matter, which are pro-Muslim, want to slaughter the Jews. And the Antifa want to slaughter the Jews. And you know who won't listen to me? The Jews. So I'm kind of like a guy warning the Jews in Germany in 1938, and no Jew wants to hear a word I'm saying. Is there any wonder there was a Holocaust? Because Jews, it wasn't their fault there was a Holocaust, but it was their fault they didn't see it coming. So it's very important to stress this.
My, oh my. And what believers need to do is they need to vote. They need to make their voices heard and not be distracted by things that won't be working if communism takes place. Good Lord. Criticism for Germany's gone way out the door for a long time now. When we used to say, well, how could they ever allow? We're watching it happen here. We're watching the ignorance, the willful stupidity, and the avoidance happening here.
You know what? I want to add another thing. The Jews in America, are they pro-abortion or anti-abortion? No, don't be afraid. I won't bite you.
I would probably guess pro-abortion.
They're pro-abortion because they're pro-Democrat. Okay?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
what do the blacks say? Now listen carefully. This is crazy, but this is how the blacks think. Which children get aborted the most?
Black children.
The black children. Who's to blame? The Jews. Because the Jews are genocidal murderers of black children through abortion.
That's the perception. And yet black voters, the ones that do vote, vote Democrat for the very party of Native American genocide and every scourge on this country, KKK and Jim Crow, who Biden himself was a big part of. And the list goes on and on. Margaret Sanger was revealed that she wanted to wipe out the blacks. But for somehow, well, not somehow, money talks. Black leaders get paid very, very well to betray their own people. I hate to say, because if they told their people the truth, to go read a book and talk about, the fact that the Republican Party was created for the purpose of freeing the slaves, that the NRA was created and helped arm the freed slaves, that, oh my gosh, well, would it change anything? I've seen trends firsthand, when politicians have 2 or 3 mansions, but they're telling you to pay your fair share after the overregulation that they implemented has caused such hardship and inflation. They laugh at people. They call them worthless eaters. Well, if you vote for your slave masters, are they right? Yeah, they're right. You're a worthless eater, an ignorant, uninformed, willfully ignorant voter who votes with your genitals and your stomach until you come to the truth, until you come to wisdom. But hey, someone famous once said that wisdom is known by her children. We need more children of wisdom speaking up in these days and praying for the peace of Israel, talking to the representatives, and for God's sake, voting. Vote this time. I've seen comments. Well, the GOP is entertaining abortion, so I don't know if I'm going to. I told the lady, I said, you probably didn't vote anyway. 34 million evangelicals didn't even vote in 2020. What are you complaining about? I voted. But, all that to say is some things never change. History tends to repeat itself and people tend to continue to make the same stupid mistakes. I think it's a mistake.
I voted for Trump twice, absentee ballot here in Israel.
Yeah.
My sons voted for Trump, absentee ballot here in Israel.
Wow.
Trump got 100,000 absentee ballot votes from Israel.
Well, it's safe to say that in a fair election, I think he would win, hands down. And but are we going to have a fair election? I'm still mystified that Argentina was able to be voted out without a revolution. Communism doesn't usually allow itself to be voted out. I guess the military and the citizens were pretty convincing.
Well, you know what? The military are not making bribe money like the politicians are.
Ah.
So
well, you follow the money.
Very often in Latin America, the military saves the country.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's true.
By the way, I have to tell you something. I believe you didn't hear this because my guess is you didn't hear it. You remember General Milley?
Yes.
Well, he's retired now.
The one who told Trump it's too expensive to move billions of dollars of new equipment out of Afghanistan, just leave it with the Taliban. That Milley?
That Milley was on TV. We saw him a few days ago.
Uh-huh.
He was dressed tie and jacket, and he said to Israel, "Do not negotiate with Hamas. The Hamas are all Nazis." I don't know if you saw that.
I would agree.
Milley couldn't say it while he was in the uniform.
He couldn't, or he wouldn't.
No, he couldn't. You're in uniform.
No.
You don't talk politics in uniform.
What about the Adolf Brigade that never stopped since the days of Hitler, allowed by the FBI?
That's not in the American military.
Yeah.
Also, the Israeli military.
That's in Ukraine.
Politics.
Ukraine never stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is anyone surprised, folks? You know, so all that to say is pray for the peace of Israel and
Amen.
pray for Avi Lipkin, support Avi Lipkin. Go to biblicalalliance.com. You've seen it on the bottom of your screen this entire time. And we just pray God's blessings over you, Avi,
Amen.
as we
And
continue to
over
see.
you and over America. God bless
Yes.
America.
God save America
Amen.
and God bless Israel. God's going to save Israel. That's just I would have hoped during my lifetime that America would not have been one of the nations to stand against Israel and be destroyed. So maybe that will be averted or delayed, but it's inevitable that the nations will come against Israel and they will be destroyed. And so the Lord is a warrior and he loves his children. He loves his country. We love you, Avi. We love Israel. And
Love you
until
too.
next time, bless you.
Until next time. Amen.